Hi, I'm Talith, and today we're looking at the best PvE build in Dune Awakening. I'll be covering the full loadout, including weapons, armor, equipment, and skills, along with the reasoning behind each choice. At the end I'll go over some worthwhile alternatives and share a few tips for playing the build. The foundation of this build is Attractor Field and Center of Mass. Attractor Field has a strong synergy with Center of Mass, increasing damage far more than you might expect. Shots fired into Attractor Field are redirected to the body, so we choose a weapon with the highest body DPS possible. The Regis Triple Shot Repeating Rifle and Perforator have the highest body DPS in the game, so they're a natural choice for this build. Weapons like the Seethe deal great headshot damage, but they can't make good use of Attractor Field. With our primary weapon choices made, we augment the Triple Shot with 2 damage augments and an expander. This gives us the best sustained DPS. For the Perforator we use a heavy caliber upgrade and a GRDA amplifier. For the third augment the choice is more difficult. We can choose between the GRDA 44 expander for better sustained damage, or the GRDA 44 optimizer for better burst damage. If you are running reflexive reload, or are in situations where it's not safe to shoot for long periods, then the optimizer for burst is better. We don't yet have a great way to deal with groups of enemies, so we pick up the Ancient Way, then augment it for increased damage and area effect. Now we have the highest body damage possible and a way to deal with enemy groups. For the melee weapon I prefer the Rapier over the sword, but the Rapier deals a little less damage and lacks the AoE parry of the sword. Despite this I prefer the Rapier for its longer reach and faster slow blade. The parry is more difficult to execute, but it allows for more skill expression, which is one of the things I enjoy about the Rapier. The sword or even the knife will work just as well. After selecting the weapons for the build, we need to look at armor choices. I match my armor type to the damage type that the boss I'm facing deals. In Electric I run full Bulwark with dart mitigation augments, so I can tank the boss's dart type damage. In Poison I run light armor with blade mitigation to tank the boss's blade type damage. For the fire testing station, fire mitigation is best at first, but fire and poison mitigation don't scale like blade and dart mitigation. That's why you'll see me running Idaho's Charge in higher difficulty fire runs. I value the dispenser cost reduction more than I value the fire mitigation. The power pack I run is Young Sparky for the increased regeneration. For the Suspenser, I always use the full Suspenser belt and play with the Suspenser lock turned off in the settings. My shield is the Adaptive Holtzman shield. So far we have Attractor Field, which is very strong when paired with the technique Center of Mass. We've selected weapons that deal the most body type damage to maximize our DPS with Attractor Field. Then we've selected armor with mitigation stats that work best against the testing station boss that we're facing. With these 3 things as a core, we can begin fleshing out the rest of the build. First we'll look at pre-boss loadouts. Damaging skills don't scale into higher difficulties, so what might seem good at challenge level 1 will barely hurt the enemies at challenge level 20. For this reason we pick skills that create windows for our weapons, which do scale, to deal damage to enemies instead. My standard setup for before the boss is Knee Charge, Weirding Step, and Compel. Knee Charge functions well in combat, staggering enemies for slow blades or light attacks, but I get the most value out of it as a traversal skill. When you use a momentum-preserving Suspenser belt like the full Suspenser belt, you can knee charge in any direction and activate the Suspenser belt while moving to maintain a high rate of speed over long distances. Weirding Step is used for 2 things. The first is to expose ranged enemies to our shotgun in the Weirding Step backshots combo, and the second is for opening enemies up to our slow blade attacks. Melee shielded enemies can be slow bladed 1 or 2 times, but against heavies, Weirding Step can allow us to hit them up to 3 times. Compel is an incredible ranged CC that can buy time, split up groups, or set targets up for slow blades. The main way I use Compel is to set up heavy enemies for a slow blade combo. I open with Compel, slow blade the enemy 3 times, back off, then re-engage with Weirding Step and land 2 more slow blades. The techniques we pick up the 2 that increase our damage the most with our pre-boss loadout. Manipulate Instability works with our melee and ranged weapons. Shotgun Stagger and other CCs will enable this bonus. I take Suspenser Dash as the third technique because Suspenser dashing is faster than running, but you could use something else if you prefer. On to boss loadouts. For bosses I use Attractor Field, Energy Capsule, and Compel. Attractor Field is very strong with Center of Mass right now, so it's the biggest single target damage increase we can get. The spear created by Attractor Field is also great for capturing the wide pellet spread of shotguns and the increasingly inaccurate shots of the triple shot. Energy Capsule is an additive bonus to our range damage and is best used during boss phase transitions. Compel is the longest CC in the game and works well in boss fights. Buying time to heal or kill adds. With Spice Prescience active and the voice training passive at level 3, You can keep the boss CC'd indefinitely. For boss techniques we run Center of Massive Course, then pick up Battle Harden for the cooldown reduction on Attractor Field and Energy Capsule. Finally, Death from Above gives us another additive range damage increase, and for fights where you're in the air anyway, it pairs well. On to skill trees. I'll link 3 trees below showing what I would run for a general build at 150, 200, and 254 skill points. I recommend maxing any active skills and techniques, then taking all the relevant damage passives first. For the less common skills I pick in this build, I run Assassin's Shot for the Weirding Step Shotgun combo. Solid Stance 2 is to resist the stagger from the electric testing station boss's shots. Disciplined Breathing is just nice to have available. Explosive Grenade is only maxed for cooldown, and we pair it with Reflexive Reload to instantly reload our weapons. Here are the alternative skills I would recommend running. As I mentioned, Explosive Grenade with Reflexive Reload is nice to have, especially with high reload time weapons like the Ancient Way and Seethe. Stop's Area Effect CC can be good for group play or when you're solo against hordes. Gravity Mine is another skill that's good in group play. It also makes shield cracking a lot easier when solo. Source of Power increases the regen of everyone in the area, so it has lots of value in groups. Deflection is a great skill to use when learning fights. It can stop darts for as long as you have the stamina, and is a great panic button when your shields go down. A lot of people like using this skill while learning the electric boss fight. Inspiration is another good group ability because it buffs you and your allies' blade damage. While I'm doing dailies, I run Knee Charge, Bindu Sprint, and Shigawire Claw for traversal. Now for alternative techniques. Disciplined Breathing is great for situations where you have to dodge constantly. Marksman is the only technique I would consider replacing Center of Mass with. It's great for any headshot build. Exploit Weakness looks good on paper, but the weak spot is random, so it can be hard to get value out of it. Conservation of Energy costs 9 skill points and a technique slot, so only take it if you are using energy weapons or really want the extra power efficiency. Alternative Armor. If you don't want to mess around with swapping armor, you could just run one set. However, your defense won't scale as well into higher difficulties. If you only ran one set, I would recommend Forge Helmet, Pants, and Boots, with Circuit Gauntlets and Power Harness. X-Core Leggings are good for situations where you need more stamina. Alternative Range Weapons. The Ancient Way is good for AoE as I already mentioned. If you don't have the Perforator, or don't like the small clip size, you can run a Shell Burster instead. For shield breaking, the Experimental Lightning Gun is the best. The alternative to the shotgun meta right now is the Seethe. When running a Seethe, you stop using Attractor Field and maximize headshot damage. Let's look at some of the combos you can use to get the most out of this build. Compel, Slow Blade, Dash, Weirding Step, Slow Blade. Weirding Step, 3 shots, pause, up to 3 more. Weirding Step, 3 Slow Blades. Compel, Energy Capsule, Attractor Field. If you find your Attractor Field shots aren't hitting, you can hold the button down longer to get more consistent aim. You can see the final build on the screen now, but I'll also link to it on the Method website. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, you can like it and subscribe to my channel. If you have ideas for videos you'd like me to do, you can leave a comment and let me know.